In late 2024, archaeologists working in central China uncovered a life-sized, highly decorated military official made entirely of clay. This high-ranking officer was pulled from the exact same soil where a group of local farmers digging a well accidentally struck terracotta in 1974. Over the last 50 years, careful digging has revealed a sprawling subterranean army. Thousands of life-size soldiers, horses, and chariots stand in precise military formation inside massive excavation hangars. But the 8,000 warriors uncovered so far are a fraction of the actual site. They act as the outer guard for a 56-square-kilometer necropolis that required an estimated 700,000 laborers and 4 decades to construct. At the heart of this complex sits the burial mound of China's first emperor, Qin Shi Huang. It has stood clearly visible above ground for 2 millennia, yet the earth over the central chamber remains completely undisturbed. Modern archaeologists use ground-penetrating radar, deploy autonomous drones, and advanced chemical laboratories. Yet they actively refuse to dig into the largest tomb in history because the physical act of opening the doors would destroy the artifacts inside. The soldiers of the Terracotta Army are famous for their uniform, muted gray earth tones. In reality, they were buried wearing vibrant reds, blues, and purples. The color survived underground because the ancient artisans applied the pigments over a base coat of urushiol. Urushiol is a natural, highly toxic tree sap used as a traditional lacquer to seal and protect surfaces. This animated cross-section shows the terracotta base, the urushiol lacquer, and the pigment on top. For 2,000 years, the waterlogged soil provided a perfectly stable, high-humidity environment. When excavated, that moisture evaporates into the dry, open air in a matter of minutes. Without that ambient moisture, the organic lacquer dehydrates and contracts. The urushiol violently shrinks and curls, physically snapping the colored pigment layer off the terracotta base. The transition from perfect preservation to total color loss happens rapidly. Once exposed to the atmosphere, the paint flakes and turns to dust before archaeologists can even finish brushing away the dirt. The bare gray clay you see on these excavated warriors is the direct result of that rapid, uncontrolled chemical dehydration. To prevent this, scientists now deploy extreme chemical interventions the second a new artifact is exposed. They douse the clay in polyethylene glycol, a compound used to stabilize waterlogged wood, and coat the artifacts in melted menthol just to lock the remaining paint in place during transport. If securing the paint on a single soldier requires an emergency chemical triage, breaching the emperor's sealed central chamber would trigger a mass extinction event for thousands of undiscovered artifacts the moment outside air rushed in. The threat of air exposure is compounded by the physical dangers of the tomb itself. Writings by the ancient historian Sima Qian describe a central chamber rigged with mechanical crossbow traps and rivers of liquid mercury designed to simulate the waterways of China. For centuries, the mercury rivers were dismissed as a myth until modern core sampling proved the ancient texts correct. This heat map displays the mercury concentrations across the burial mound. The data reveals an extreme toxic spike directly over the central chamber, with mercury levels registering 70 times higher than the surrounding soil. Digging blindly into this concentration risks a lethal dose of heavy metal poisoning for the excavation team, along with a high probability of venting toxic vapor into the regional environment. To map the hazards without moving a single grain of dirt, researchers are turning to astrophysics and a technique called muon scanning. Muons are heavy subatomic particles created when cosmic rays strike the Earth's atmosphere. They rain down continuously and penetrate deep into earth and stone, slowing down and scattering based on the density of the material they pass through. By placing muon detectors around ancient structures, physicists can count the particles that make it through. They are already using this exact method to map hidden structural anomalies inside the 650-year-old defensive walls of nearby Xi'an. Subatomic particle tracking gives us a way to build a 3-dimensional map of the emperor's subterranean palace. Right now, it is the only viable method to locate the mechanical traps and mercury ridders without triggering a cave-in or a lethal toxic leak. The Chinese government and the global archaeological community have adopted a strict preserve first policy for the tomb of Qin Shi Huang. In the 19th and 20th centuries, excavations were often rushed, prioritizing the extraction of treasure over the preservation of context, resulting in the permanent loss of historical data. Today, the site operates in a deliberate holding pattern. Researchers monitor the soil, run non-invasive subatomic scans, and wait for material science and preservation chemistry to catch up to the complexity of the site. Leaving the first emperor sealed in the dark is an act of scientific humility. It is a calculated choice to protect our shared history from our own immediate curiosity, ensuring the tomb remains intact until the technology of tomorrow is truly equipped to open it safely.